organization which foster entrepreneurship globally. Um, we have 61 chapters if you want to know about it, visit our website. It's kolkata.org. Now I he is an entrepreneurship individual, startup expert, and two-time TEDx speaker. He has over 10 years of experience helping startups, entrepreneurs, and government across India to solve problems using entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation. Ravi, are you there?
Thanks a lot, Neha. Appreciate that. We would like to move on to our speaker for the day today. We are very excited and glad to have with us Mr. M.S.A. Kumar. He's a family business advisor and a CEO coach, a postgraduate in management from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. He's a 1976 batch. Kumar has 4 decades of industry experience across various functions such as sales, product management, marketing, and general profit center management with Sandoz. He has experience with Bayer, Shaw Wallace, and A.V. Thomas Group of companies. Mr. Kumar is a well-networked individual, has held many industry leadership positions such as Chairman of Confederation of Indian Industry, CII Kerala, Chairman of All India Spice Exporters Forum, President of the Indus Entrepreneur TiE Kerala, and member of SPI Board of India. Mr. Kumar will be today walking us through on how to price your products and your services, which is going to be a practical guide for all the startup founder today. Mr. Kumar, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. We are very thrilled and we are looking forward to hear from you. Requesting you to kindly take over the session from here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ravi, for the introduction, and thanks, Neha, for setting this up. I'm very happy to be here today evening and
Our pleasure, sir.
take through. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, we can hear you.
Am I audible? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So thanks, Ravi, and thanks, Neha, and I look forward to participating and sharing my experience on pricing. So I would like this to be, as far as possible, an interactive session. Though I have a formal PowerPoint, it always makes sense to get the participants' feel in terms of how things are. So let me start sharing the screen. Yeah, is it clear? Okay. Yeah. Is it okay, Neha?
Yes.
Great. Wonderful. What happens here is basically in terms of during my presidency of TiE Kerala, as well as my own experience, when you attend a group of startup entrepreneurs, this is one question which always comes in terms of, can we get some advice? Can we get some mentoring in terms of, pricing our products and services? So this is a key question, and what my experience is that, look, there is also a question of, one question came up, okay, how do I find my founding partner for a startup? So these are questions paramount. Of course, other questions are there, how to fund the business, how do I go about setting up a structure for my company, what should be my team in the beginning and all that. But the most, I would say the toughest question to answer is this, plus, so in TiE Cons, we used to have a separate session on this in terms of how to find a partner and make it long lasting for your startup, and how to price my products and services. So all of us come across this. So let me just move on. See, many of us may think pricing is just a math problem, and or even an afterthought. Many people start the enterprise, your startup organization, and not even an after. Sometimes it comes as an afterthought. God, how should I price my product? How should I price my services? So basically, pricing is a very complex subject. It relies as much as on marketing and psychology as it does on classical economics, because finally, at the end of the day, we have to create value for the organization and make it move forward. We should also ensure that there is enough wealth created for all the stakeholders to be happy and be in the business. So it's basically a complex phenomena, complex question in terms of marketing and psychology as well as classical economics. So that's where it is. Let us start with some basics. And Neha, I will ask for interaction at the very end, or you want me to stop in between?
Sure.
Neha?
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah. Should I stop for interaction in between, or should I go through the presentation and then?
I will ask the attendees if they have some questions. They can ask in between, and then I will tell you to stop and interact with them.
Okay, great, wonderful. So basically, I think here are some basic facts. Many times when you talk about how to price, it is the money you pay which comes to the top of mind. I'm now talking as a customer of who avails your products or avails your services. So it is the money you pay which is there, and I always say that you should give value to your customer. So what is this value stuff? Value is the satisfaction or reward you get from providing those kind of products or services. So basically, this price value equation is very important. That's why I brought this up as a basic material here. So what it also says is that the value gap is the difference between your price and perceived value. That's an important concept you should understand. The perceived value is totally different from the value you think you're provided. So the difference between your price and the perceived value value by your customer is that gap. If your price is higher than the perceived value, then the product doesn't take off. If your price is lower than the perceived value, that means the value what the customer sees in your product is high, and the probability of he or she purchasing the product will be higher. So many times we think like when your product doesn't move or your services don't take off as a startup, you feel that, look, I should cut my price. But my recommendation is that before you decide to cut your price, which means you'll be cutting on your margins and profits, is to look at how is the value of your products or services perceived by your customers. So these are some of the basics in pricing. I'll get into a little more details in terms of, see here again, it's very important that we look at the whole gamut in terms of the market product mix for pricing guidelines. Like, you see here a known product, an unknown product, and known market, unknown market. So there are the four metrics. See, it depends on which metric you fall in. Like, if it's an unknown product in a known market, to give an example is, for example, when you have the car hailers, the Ubers and the Olas, it was an unknown product in a known market because urban transportation is well known, the market is well known, but the product was not known. So basically you have to see that, of course, the D doesn't happen that easily, which is basically the innovation, the unknown product on the unknown market. So that is where the product may not be still not come out, it's still in the innovation pipeline. So you can place your products or services in this, and each one will have to have a different kind of a strategy in pricing or an approach in pricing. So here is what are the pricing strategies available? See, basically, what are we doing here? See, in the startup, what do we say? That you should have a product which meets the need or solves the problem of the target customer or target market. So basically, it's a question of monetizing the innovation, what you have made through your prototyping in the labs, in the innovation labs, etc. So which strategy to pursue? There are three basic strategies you can do. One is maximization pricing strategy, which I'll cover each of this very briefly, which is aimed at revenue growth or revenue maximization. Penetration is a market share strategy. Skimming is the profit maximization strategy. So what I would recommend here, what strategy you will take on the pricing depends on a close interaction with your team, of your executive team, which when you decide, it should be consistent with your overall organizational goals, because pricing is an integral part of the rest of the organization. So it's very important that you have a chat, a discussion, interaction with your executive team, and then arriving at, okay, this is my right strategy. This is how I have to move forward. Also, whatever strategy you should take. See, for example, if it is revenue growth, you should have enough capacity. There's no point in going for a maximization strategy without having a backup capacity to roll out the goods or services. So that's why we say any pricing strategy, what you take should align with sales, marketing, product development, and the engineering efforts behind the scene. So this is a basic strategy here in terms of how we should do this. So again, in terms of each of the strategies, see, maximization pricing strategy is, as I told you, is focusing on revenue maximization. Here, what are the situations under which you will go for a revenue maximization strategy? One thing, there is no clear differences in customer segments' willingness to pay. See, when I say customer segments, there will be different customer segments, and you don't see any difference in terms of their willingness to pay. The optimal short-term and long-term prices are equal. Let me explain this. When I say optimal short-term and long-term prices are equal, is a situation wherein you don't see a change in pricing. I mean, it's almost same. Sometimes you go with initially, if you go with the pricing and you build up the volumes and then slowly inch up or enhance the value given to the customer, then it's a different thing. But here you see a situation where no, you don't see that on the long term things are going to be different. So what you do in that case is negotiate for the highest possible price in each deal. So penetration pricing is again in terms of, it's a market share pricing strategy wherein price the product low to win dominant market share, make your product service a habit. Now I will give a small example from my own experience. I live in Kerala. I live in southern part. I mean, in the commercial capital of Kerala, Cochin. When Uber launched, I had this problem always. Whether you go to a railway station or an airport, hiring a taxi, and then there is a hassle of negotiating with the driver. Then he finally reaches the destination. He says, "No, you told 400 rupees. Now you are giving only 300 rupees." A lot of hassles in that, and you don't get this exactly at the time you want and all that. When Uber came, normally my taxi to the airport used to cost me around 650 to 700 rupees, And then when this Uber came, the pricing was about 350. I was shell shocked. And beautiful, you have got the app of Uber, you just tell you want to go such and such place, you know it, I don't have to explain that. But then slowly, without my knowledge, that means they priced it very low at the start to gain market share and get the customer in. And for me, it became a habit. I don't look at anything else. And suddenly when I looked at it, the price had gone up without my knowledge to something like 500 rupees. But still it was cheaper than what an outside taxi will do. So this is again a very, very clear example of making it a habit so the customer doesn't leave you and go. So, and also this minimizes the adoption friction. See, but basically what happens when a new product or new service comes, there is a resistance to buying this product or adopting the new technology, what you as a startup is offering. So this kind of a strategy will definitely help you in minimizing the adoption friction. Then of course, grows the sales volume quickly. Then what happens is that, like what Uber did, they moved up the market price after developing a broad market adoption, because people have tasted the product. It solves a felt problem by what I mentioned in the case of hiring taxis. That is the way the penetration pricing works, and it's a kind of what we call as a land and expand sales tactics. Like you first land in the marketplace and then expand. But this has got its own, you have to look at it very clearly in terms of your P&L, your cost sheets, whether this penetration pricing strategy, how long you will continue, things like that. The third one, which I told you, is about this is revenue maximization. Yeah. The third one I told you is about skimming pricing strategy. Here, profit maximization is the key objective. First, you start with a high price and address more of customer base at lower prices. I think you can think of an example here again in terms of iPhone. iPhone, like for example, when they launch a new model, iPhone 11 or 12, the pricing is so high, but you would have noticed iPhone 8, iPhone 7 are all priced pretty low compared to their launch price. What is iPhone doing there? What is Apple doing there is basically, addressing more of a customer base at a lower price. They are already very high price. I carry an iPhone. I don't feel like taking any other phone, and many of you must be in the same league. So what we say is that Steve Jobs was not only a product genius, he was a pricing genius as well. So he went with the skimming pricing strategy, exactly, start with a higher price, address more of the wider customer base at lower prices. Be a product genius and a pricing genius when you look at it. So this is the basic strategies, and I have got about 10 pricing approaches which I will cover. I'll just take a quick break here in terms of any Q&A, Neha, at this stage.
Hello. Yeah, can you hear me? So right now we don't have any question, and continue with the presentation.
Okay, fine. I will go ahead with that. If you have any questions, please put it.
Yeah, I will notify you.
Also to the audience, because I don't want to monologue.
No.
I'm very uncomfortable, so I would expect some questions from the audience to make it definitely more interactive. And Neha, please share it with me as and when it comes.
Absolutely.
My presentation is very less, but I thought it will be more interactive being startups, and that's my experience in Kerala. So we have now basically discussed 3 pricing strategies, as I mentioned here. And this is something which I will tell you, if you have felt that, look, pricing is a major issue, it's not only, you are not alone. See, I worked in the corporate sector for about 42 years, and then took a decision to retire and started my own private practice and family business and so on and so forth. I had this question when clients started coming to me, oh God, how much should I charge them? Because I'm not having a big setup. I didn't start a big consultancy firm. But I also was groping in the dark in terms of how should I price. So I went to some of the consultants here, the big guys, the Ernst & Young. I had a friend there who's a partner in Ernst & Young. So checked with him, okay, what is that the South Indian market can absorb for a person of my experience and the value I give, and got some inputs, and I could price, but it was initially a big struggle. Same with my daughter, who is a practicing architect in Bangalore. She has got her own design firm. When she started, now she's almost 7-8 years, now she has stabilized. She used to ask, Dad, how should I price my design consultancy? I also was at a loss to understand how I tell this girl what to do. I mean, then of course we do always the easiest way is to do the benchmarking. So I asked my daughter that how much the architects who are established architects charge, how much a new architect who is just a new kid in the block, how much she or he charges. So we arrived at, and then I asked her to look at how much it costs to give that service and so on, and the value of your time, so on and so forth. So basically, this is something which every one of us, each one of us go through in our enterprises. So what I will do next is to quickly go through some of the pricing approaches. I'm not necessarily saying here for the entrepreneurs. I'm saying this, sorry, not for the startups alone. I'm starting for any business. There are 10 approaches by which you can do the pricing. The first one is cost-led. This is very simple. See, if you see that the pricing I'm sure some of you who are participating in this seminar will be from the software vertical. If you look at cost-led, and every one of your competitors are on a cost per hour or cost per day or cost per seat, and then put a margin on top of it and then quote. That is basically the cost-led. But what happens here is that you really don't know. Okay, you have this option of benchmarking, but you really don't know whether you're doing the right thing. So what we do in a brick and mortar business is that you have the variable cost, which is related to the units of production. That means if I produce 1 unit is 100 rupees, if I produce 10 units is 1000 rupees. Basically it is directly related to the units of production. Okay, so that we call as direct cost or variable cost, and then you have the fixed cost. Here comes the problem with the cost led. Now, suppose you have got a fixed cost of 2 lakhs rupees. I'm just putting a number, okay, and you are confident of selling 1000 units. Confident being your estimate, okay, and then you put a 200 rupees as fixed cost because you have to amortize or allocate the fixed cost to your units of sales. So you put a 200 rupees. So instead of 1000 units, you sell only 200 units. This cost-led pricing will lead to a turmoil because you are not able to cover your cost. Okay, for some time it's fine. You may do that as a strategy also, but this is a basic disadvantage of a cost-led pricing because you don't know how you will be able to recover your costs and make profits. Second is competition-led. You can look at how competitors are pricing. Like I told my daughter to look at how architects, again, example will be that, look, when you talk about competition, there are different segments. I mean, if you're a startup, you can't benchmark with a very well-established player in the field. So, but competition-led will definitely give you some idea. And then what you do is that combine number 1 and number 2. Okay, your competition benchmarking says that I can charge so many rupees, and your cost-led, which is your direct cost and indirect cost, the variable cost and the fixed cost, add together, and then, okay, it gives me a good margin. So I can price it at this way. So you are, one side, you are addressing the market aspect, and second one, in comparing, these are not mutually exclusive approaches. So they are all can be combined together. As I told you, like a competition-led pricing finally comes back to the drawing room and check, okay, does this give me sufficient margin? Am I able to meet my overheads? Those kind of stuff. So that is the second one. The third one is customer-led, okay, where straight away you conduct, we have in consumer products, when I work with consumer products companies, we have this market research and we do this home placement test of a particular product. And then we have the focus group discussions where you find out how much the customer is willing to pay. It's like you do a Google search for a certain product, you are seeing the price right away there, and then, okay, you take a decision whether to buy it or not. So the customer-led pricing is also a very, very foolproof approach. Again, you can come back to the number 1 approach here and then compare this. Loss leader is a very dangerous thing. Loss leader is where you find that, okay, you have done a lot of money, spent a lot of money on making the prototypes, putting up a founding team, you have the burn rate every month, so many lakhs rupees, and you find your pricing is just not fitting into the marketplace. That's where the loss leader approach helps, where you say, okay, I consciously take a decision that I will price with a budgeted loss. But it's painful But if you already sunk in some money, you can still test the market by which you do this loss leader. But you know when to withdraw and when to call it enough. You know the typical stop loss decision point, wherein you say that, look, I won't go beyond a particular stage. Then, of course, is the introductory offer, where many of the car companies do that. These days, post-COVID, many of the mid-sized and lower-end markets come and say, okay, I'm introducing this new model. This price is valid up to December 31st, So an introductory offer is another way of pricing. Basically, we can test the market and get, it can come back to the earlier strategy of penetration pricing. You give a good introductory offer and then you get a lot of bookings and then do that. The next one is skimming, which we already discussed, where you price it high and then go for lower volume. It's a high profit, high margin versus low volume strategy of skimming, where you skim the market and take maximum volume out of the market. Here again, it can backfire because, as you know, sometimes it doesn't help really in terms of putting a high price. Like I showed the first chart, the price is the money you pay, value is the benefit you derive. So after having priced it very high at this level and the perceived value is here, you won't get repeat demand. But if the price is here and the perceived value by the customer is here, is very high. I'll tell you an example. Recently I went to OLX and wanted to sell off my 5-year-old car. So what I did, again, a pricing situation, because in OLX, as you know, you have to give the price you want. So I did the study of the market for second-hand used cars. So my friends told, look, this will be around, it can't go beyond 4 lakhs. So I told, okay, fine, so I put an ad in the OLX and then put a price of 5 lakhs because I know negotiations will happen. And to my surprise, the initial few calls came, it never went beyond 3.5. So I was a little frustrated. I mean, this is not going anywhere. And I was wondering whether I should cut my price and bring it to 3.5. One day, fine. I mean, a young boy who works in Merchant Navy calls me, Mr. Kumar, I want to buy your car. It looks good. Well, yeah, please come and have a look at it. He came home and he straight away offered me 4.5. So I was a bit surprised because there were about 7, 8 potential buyers who came before, never went above 3.5. One fellow came up to 3.75. But this fellow straight first itself, he offered 4.5. I was happy. Then I checked because he is from the Merchant Navy and he got engaged recently and he is constructing a house and he's on leave till May or something like that. And he wanted a car badly, and he can't afford new cars. So, what I'm saying is that the pricing, again, the value for him, that's where we started. Like, his perceived value of having a car immediately was definitely higher than what I wanted for my car. Okay, I wanted 5, but I knew that I won't get 5. So, but I got much better than the market price. So this is the kind of pricing approaches one picks up as we go along. Now, odd numbers. Okay, this is a known thing. I don't think it will be for you guys who are basically on the B2B vertical, but on B2C, it's a famous beta pricing, psychology pricing, where 499, 399, 1099, like that. So odd numbers. This again, one number is again in terms of you have seen this. You go to a temple. He gives a price for that thali, that for the offering to the god, and he gives one price which has got coconut, a lot of offerings, the garland and camphor, and he says, okay, this is 30 rupees. Okay, and you ask, how much is the coconut in that? He says, it's 10 rupees. You ask him to only give coconut, he will never give that. So this is a typical traditional street side bundle pricing, because he knows what is the value you get, because you are giving a coconut along with 5, 6 other items, the vibhuti and all that. So a bundle pricing is where you put together few things together and then give that. And that's where the value, the perceived value is there. Range pricing is again in terms of you have got multiple offerings from the same vertical, but answering this will be again a range pricing will be for new cars, for example. You always see there is a base price and then there is a high-end price. The base price is real base. So after having disposed of my old car, I'm now planning to buy a new car. So when I looked at few models, the difference between the base price and the high-end price is about, depending on the model again, 2.5 to 3 lakhs. So I asked the salesman who came, how do you justify such a premium of from the base to the high end? It's again a range pricing. But he explained that, okay, you get wireless charging, you get the sunroof, you get the tail lamp, which is different, and so you have so many other small additional features which justifies alloy wheels, things like that. So that is what the range pricing is. So basically, if you look at the cost-led, competition-led, customer-led, loss leader, introductory offer, skimming, old numbers, odd numbers, one number, bundle pricing and range pricing. So this is the way things are. At the end of the day, it is basically in terms of you sitting together, discussing with your team how to price it. And pricing is not just a maths problem. It has to look at the market, the affordability, what traffic can bear, what are your organizational goals, so on and so forth. So I will stop here. So Neha, then we can, if there are questions, we can encourage.
Yes, sure. So, yeah, we have some questions. Yeah. Yeah, Ranjanji, please ask your question.
Good evening, sir. Uh, it was very interesting. I have a question. You're talking about customer-led pricing. So basically, suppose for the same product, you have different, customer segments, and different segments are willing to pay you different pricing. And naturally, when somebody pays a slightly higher price, maybe they would be expecting some additional services also. But you can't have a multiple pricing of a product. So how can we strategize so that we can have multiple pricing so that we can charge different segment different pricing for a similar product, I would say almost.
Yeah, I think it's a very valid point, Ranjan. I mean, it's not fair to sort of, for the same product, same offering, you have different pricing for different customers. You can land up in a soup if, unless it's a very wide customer base. One customer talked to the other, okay, Ranjan's product has been priced differently for me. I got a lower price. If I am the person who got a higher price, I feel definitely cheated. So your question is very, very valid. So how do I do that? Normally there is a pricing which will have added features, in terms of how value-added features can be given, and then you price it differently so that tomorrow you have a clear answer. Even if somebody asks, yes, I have given this value. I'll give an example. Many times pricing goes beyond the functionality of the product. Let me also make it clear, like some products you may not give that service which is required. So it depends on, see, functionality of the product is the core on which pricing revolves around. But if you're giving a better service to a client, for example, you give good after sales service, you share the market information. So there is something, a value given to a customer beyond the functionality of the product. So if such values are well explained, you can have different pricing for almost similar product. But I take your point, Ranjan, that it cannot be the same. It cannot be different pricing for the same ditto product. That will be little not advisable. Does that answer your question, Ranjan?
Is it advisable? Like, is it advisable, like similar to the car? You can have a range pricing here by having a different pricing by adding some little features here and there, and just to keep the differential pricing. Core product functionality remains the same, but by adding some small value here and there, you have multiple pricing. Is that one of the strategies you can follow?
You can surely, because I am fresh from my mind in terms of when I decide to go for a high end, I'm buying this Kia's Sonet. I'll give you a real life example. The base model is, I went for the petrol automatic. The base model is 12 and a half, and the high-end model is 15 lakhs. So I was justifying in my mind, I mean, it's the same product, it's a Sonet. So I asked the sales guy, like, why this 2.5 lakhs difference? And though the same product, when he explained the features, the add-on, like he say, a warranty is 1 year more, okay? You give this on-the-road service, and many more examples in terms of the features of the product, I decided to go for the high end. Basically because I saw the perceived value there, okay? And that's how people do. And people don't, I mean, again, it depends on, see, I will tell you one thing. There is in one of the airlines from the Middle East, of course, now it's all in bad shape. They had what is called a residence class. It is not Emirates, the other airline, I'm not getting the name. For one ticket, it was 30 lakhs, whereas a first class ticket was about, let's say, 4 lakhs. So it's called the residence class. It is Etihad. It's Etihad. I got the name now. Now, and residence class means it's like your residence. You have your own shower, you have your bedroom, then you can have a nice place to sit and have a meal. The question was, how does this product sell? And you know whom it was? It was for the sheikhs who used to drive their own, fly their own private aircraft. Because at the end of the day, it's the value you give. Because here it's a residence class, you don't stand in the queue, your car comes to the tarmac, you just board the flight. It's just like as though it is your own aircraft flying. So basically answering your question, yes, that product pricing has been, if you really look at it, okay, first class and this residence class and Etihad had big differences in features, but it's all flying from Abu Dhabi to New York. The product remains the same, but the features are so big, but the pricing has been, because what is the alternative for the sheikh to have his privacy, have his own features? So it depends on who the customer is. I told you about my second-hand car selling. I knew this fellow has paid little more than what the market was offering me, but he wanted a car quickly because his marriage was almost closer. So it depends on the perspective of the customer.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
We have another question.
Yeah, Neha.
Yeah, so we have another question from Surya Shah. Please expand a little bit more about one number, something like that.
Okay, yeah, Surya, that's one number is, it's again will not apply to startups. I told that this is basically for the all kind of businessmen. One number means you say that if you take, there are 5 articles. If you take any of this, it is $5. Basically, then it will be very attractive to people. What the seller does is goes by an average costing and then say, okay, this is where I can manage my financials, and I give one number pricing, because anything from this assortment of products you sell, you can buy anything for a $5 or 100 rupees or a 200 rupees. But this is basically applying to not to kind of startups, but it's basically for street vendors and people like that who can sort of do that. So that's what the one number is. Just one number, one price for multiple products, entirely different products. But then what the enterprise does there is take an average cost. So chalega, even if my average cost is 70 rupees and I sell at 100 rupees, some products may be 120, but on the average I make my profit. So that's the one number pricing strategy.
So
Yeah.
Another question from Mr. Sunil Gupta: how one need to approach in terms of changing pricing strategy from capex model to opex model?
Is this the same Sunil Gupta who is our charter member?
No.
This is your, okay.
Oh no, yes. He said yes. I guess yours only. I wasn't aware.
Yeah, he lives in Mumbai, Bangalore. So when I heard Sunil Gupta, Okay. I mean, see, basically from CapEx to OpEx, I think what you mentioned, Sunil, is, see, I had this problem when I was working as a managing director of one of very large investment in the spice processing. It was a big CapEx project, and we had invested a big amount that time. And when we went for B2B selling of spice ingredients, high value spice ingredients, there was a resistance because I looked at, okay, my capex cost also inbuilt into that, my entire fixed cost, I took depreciation also into that, which I thinking back, okay, then immediately I did the mid-course correction, Sunil. And what I did there is basically, again, in terms of went for a marginal costing model. So marginal costing is such a thing that till, I won't call it as almost penetrative pricing model, which we discussed, wherein I don't, my direct cost is at this level, which is the variable cost. My fixed cost is at this level. I sell slightly above the direct cost, which means I am able to absorb my capex related cost, my employee cost, my other fixed cost, which happens independent of the volume, so that over a period of time, and this model worked with me very well. So for entrepreneurs who are on a high capex situation, I would recommend a marginal costing model where you try to absorb at least part of your fixed cost, because otherwise, if you don't do that, you have to close it down. I mean, so I don't know, Sunil, whether that answers your question. Yeah, so that's what my answer is.
So we have another question from Mr. Pramod Unyal. Please speak a little on price discovery. We have a new IT product.
Price discovery, I mean, price discovery is one where, in an IT product, I think Sunil is here. I mean, he has asked me another question, but we'll come to that.
Yeah.
So we'll answer Sunil later, but maybe, I don't know whether you allow other participants to answer this kind of question. Sunil is our charter member of TiE Kerala. He's in the IT sector. So I think he's a more appropriate person to answer this if we can enable him.
So he can. I'll just unmute him. Yeah.
Just unmute and maybe put a
Yeah, Mr. Gupta, now you can speak.
What is the question? What is the question?
Question was just
how is the price discovery?
Yeah, please speak.
Just tell Neha.
Yeah. Please speak a little on price discovery. We have a new IT product.
So, price discovery is a combination which need to play out, as what MSS said, that you need to play out to the intersection of the cost plus value based and the competition led pricing. So, whichever fits best in terms of interaction and where the customer is able to adopt is where you need to fix and then discover that pricing. So it may happen that you may sell the same product at different pricing to different segment, but eventually you will realize the intersection of that, and then you will discover the pricing based on the test scenarios only. There is no rocket science on that, but discovery is a discovery process, is a search process where the final say is what customer is ready to pay for that value, what MSS said, customer will pay value to the price for the product is only when they derive a value. And what is that value, what is that level is discovered out of only 2-3 sales, which you can experiment by different pricing methods.
Yeah, I hope that answers whoever asked that question. It's what you say, there's no rocket science in this, but it's a question of, getting a feel around and, do that. So yeah, Pramod has told that is, it does that.
So we have another one question from Sunil Gupta only. Typically, what is the duration in which we recover?
So MSA, my question was, see, while capex, I think you told that you need to cover your capital cost, fixed cost over the time. But typically, what is your feeling that during what TCV, the total customer value or total life cycle value of that particular customer revenue, we should be able to recover your the capex plus obviously the profit margin. Typically, what is your because the product life cycle is also now shrinking, so it means that that capex model, if I want to transition to OPEX, I need to time it that maybe in 18 months I recover all my costs. So I know it will differ from sector to sector, but what do you think in the typical kind of environment the the company becomes more of it recovers their capital cost plus become profitable?
Yeah, my experience, as you know, Sunil is not in the IT sector. It's basically a brick and mortar kind of a situation. My experience says that, look, at the end of the day, what we did in the marginal costing where the spice ingredient was not getting accepted by their client, it took us about little close to 2 years to make the product a key ingredient in their blending and their final product.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
give the services. So you are accepted as a supplier. And then during that 2 year process also, you're slightly inching up the price, much
Correct.
more than your cost inflation. So in my experience in a brick and mortar, it took us about little close to 2 years to come back to the full pricing model, which means we are still not making profits. We at least have covered entire full cost, which included though depreciation. Depreciation is not a cash expense. We covered including depreciation. We could get to the full cost as my price.
Right.
So that became 2 years, and then slowly again on top of it we started because, like I told you, like it becomes a habit with the customer. And even in food ingredient space, once you get a good supplier who takes care of all food safety, good manufacturing practices, is good value, it's not easy to change a supplier, and he doesn't want if you are satisfying him.
Right.
So after 2 years, we could push up, and then we started recovering the capex, if we can call that way. And then this is a typical, which all of us know, is a marginal costing model, wherein you don't cover all your fixed costs.
Right. Got it.
So we have another question from Mr. Abhay Kumar Vadalia. As a digital marketer, is it advisable to price our service as fixed baseline plus variable or just fixed? In either case, my time is going to be constant. So I feel I am trading my margins for sake of gaining confidence. Please advise.
I would request Sunil also tell that, but I will tell my this thing. Don't remove the question. Oh, I think you have removed the question.
Oh, sorry.
Just bring it back. Answered.
Yeah.
Oh, I can get it answered. Okay.
Yeah.
I just pulled it back. Abhay Kumar, let me repeat that question. It's a very interesting question. As a digital marketer, is it advisable to price our services as fixed baseline plus variable, delivered growth related, or just fixed? In either case, my time is going to be constant. So I feel I'm trading my margins for the sake of gaining confidence. Please advise. Yeah, it's an interesting question. See, basically, at the end of the day, if you have put in your efforts, you have put in your money, you have a founding team, I would, of course, request Sunil to add his perspective on this, being an IT person. Yes, I mean, why not? I mean, if that is what the market wants and you are not able to crack the market with a higher pricing, definitely this is again what I explained earlier, a marginal costing model. You have a fixed pricing and then variable pricing where you start slowly inching it up, Yeah, time, of course, as I told you, when Sunil asked me the question, it takes about 2 years to sort of, to break even at the fixed cost level and then get your margins. Sunil, would you like to add? Thanks, Sunil, for joining. I'm using your presence here because you are the IT guy.
So, if your time is fixed, obviously you can see what in IT or whatever digital marketing or social tools, we are selling time. So selling time is fixed, then your price can be fixed also. If the scope is fixed, the efforts are fixed, you can afford to have a fixed pricing. But if you're trying to deliver a value which is quantifiable, obviously you can build on the top of it by different KPI. Let's say you are able to generate so many leads, those so many leads are getting converted into sales. You can have those kind of parameters and you can also do a pricing based on those variable model of outcome. We call it outcome based model. So that I think you can do. But yes, if your effort is fixed, time is fixed, you can always start with the fixed because people love fixed pricing. People love defined scope. People love that this is within their budget. So you can start with that. but you can also, on the top of it, add the outcome-based pricing where you're able to deliver value by various parameters, whether it is a lead generated, conversion, closures, and so on.
Yeah, so what Sunil suggests or advises is that during the time, which can be X number of months, you are also getting new milestones, new learnings about the business. So it's not a wasted time in that sense of the term, you know. So you get a breathing space, plus you also get a learning space.
So, requesting attendees, if you have any other question, yeah, we have another question. Thank you. That helps. My client want to negotiate my initial fixed price proposal to a new model, but now I understand. He just like that.
Okay, thank you. That helps
Yeah.
on my initial fixed price, and then okay, that's fine. That's fine.
So, do we have any further questions? Please raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll close the session. I guess we don't have. So thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation.
Thank you, Neha. It was a pleasure.
And yeah, it was our pleasure to host you as one of the speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sunil, for
Thanks. Always a
Yeah,
pleasure to
thank you,
hear you
Sunil
and
sir,
learn
as
from
well.
you.
Okay, take care. Have
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
a nice weekend.